So, welcome to the podcast. I'm going to sort of briefly go, well, promptly, not briefly, probably go into a topic that's concerning me. So the UK, apparently, there are plans to introduce more surveillance, as if digital ID and Safety Act weren't enough. Which has already been proven a problem because of the Discord hack. I haven't really talked about that much either, I'll briefly go into it. There's been tons of data leaked from a hacker group who managed to basically breach Discord's data servers, and I'm not sure if it's like region specific, could be wrong, but apparently a lot of them have leaked, including some payment info, which is really bad. This is the thing with cybersecurity. If you don't have a fucking clue what it actually is about, you're going to make all the wrong decisions on it. So, yeah, of course it's going to happen. Like, the moment someone finds Keir Starmer's fucking personal details, like his card number, his probably social security code and NHS number, like all these different things, we're truly fucked. Because that's out there somewhere, by the way. People are going to use it. They're going to impersonate him. I guarantee you a lot of people will, because they're so fed up of him. It's just like increased danger, and you only have yourself to blame for that. Because you introduce surveillance to a country that was fine without it. So, yeah, what gives it? Again, let's sort of talk about the anti-immigration stuff, because that's what it seems to be about here, rather than actual safety. That's not actually protecting anyone. But about that, it's not going to do anything either. People come on boats without any sort of equipment, and they're not going to be able to prove themselves. So you've got these people coming in on boats, or smuggled through, like who knows, coming in illegally, and essentially you've got no way to verify them. So what do you do then? You can't send them to somewhere else. So you're essentially forced to take them in, and you have no choice, regardless of their circumstances. So that's why this is also stupid. It doesn't solve the problem, at least as far as I know anyway. It's just what I've thought about. But it gets even stupider, because apparently there are rumours that earlier in the year they were going to introduce more surveillance in terms of like accessing people's files. Which is just, what? It's so fucking dystopian. I don't know if it's even a Black Mirror episode yet or anything, but I reckon that might be one. It makes sense. I just got finished watching season 3 episode 6, which was about the basically extinctions, but the bees mainly, and how they've been compromised by one of its original, I think, creators, was it? Was it creator? Was it coder? Someone. Basically it started to turn on people, spoilers also, and started to kill people. So that's what happens when you have surveillance, because they actually had surveillance in those bees. So it causes many issues. And that just further proves it, and the fact that they kept that hidden as well. It's just gross. So in the UK, apparently of it being revived, again I've only heard about this, I haven't read into it much. It's just not really something that concerns me at the moment, given shit I'm going through. But it's so worrying because when you think about it, this access is also a security risk as well. It can access your login details, hence file access. Like file access is doing that exactly. It can access that, but it can also access other things. It can definitely access your other folders, it can definitely access, let's say, game folders, and they can find out if you've got it legally or not. And really that should be up to the government to decide, because people obviously get games legally or illegally for different reasons. And really I can't blame someone for getting them illegally nowadays, because fucking hell, they're so expensive. It's no surprise really, and if you're going to arrest like hundreds of thousands of people for downloading a fucking game, like what the hell are you doing? These people cause far less damage, not only in the economy but just physically, than the people who do cause damage to the economy and physically. We're talking the people who actively destroy people's lives, like kill people, abuse people. So they're the danger. But then it sort of comes into question, like, if this surveillance is here to protect so-called like women and children, as it seems to be plastered, then why the hell are you compromising everyone else just to catch a select few? It's absolutely fucking absurd. And it's just further proving the failure in funding not only authorities but actual proper equipment and stuff, so that people can actually find, in authorities anyway, to find these people, and proper education as well, because let's not forget, part of catching criminals is actually understanding how they work. And I'm pretty sure it's like Police 101, but for some reason that doesn't seem to be a thing in Keir Starmer's head. So again, there's no actual protection of children or anything. Instead, it's the attacking of innocent people. That's all this is. And you need to consult with organisations that actually understand the fucking topic about technology, who understand what there is to know about that. Because it's so fucking dangerous to ask someone who has no knowledge on it, who has no expertise, doesn't even specialise in it. It's just foolishness. Plain and simple. So, it's a very big risk to even lives, like, because you can hack into bank accounts, because it will happen so frequently with this. Again, if there is a breach, and it's always a matter of if. No matter when, not if. I just got that mixed up. It's always a matter of when. Because the moment you introduce it, it could be like, oh, within the next few minutes it's been breached. And suddenly you got the entire UK population, their phones are being watched by God knows who, like Russian hackers maybe, or even just malicious actors in the UK in general, who do hack into devices. So you have to compete with that, and then suddenly all the banks are getting calls like, hey, my money's disappeared, my account's been hacked. And they can't keep up with the demand. Because it's such a huge issue that you can't actually address it unless you stop this fucking surveillance thing. And it won't even be prevented even then, because people have already found a way to access the devices. So there's a massive risk. Like, so big that it just ruins technology as a whole, and we have to suddenly go back to physical. I mean, it's not safe to use technology then. That's how dangerous this is. It could get very much out of hand. And again, all of this to catch a select few. I'm pretty sure I saw some fucking accusation somewhere from some politician idiot, basically saying that siding against the Online Safety Act and stuff is siding with paedophiles. What the fuck are you on about? Also, do you even understand what that word means? Like, many people do not know what fucking paedophile is. It absolutely baffles me. Like, the actual definition is someone attracted to children. So, what you actually mean, is what I assume they mean anyway, is people who've downloaded fucking illegal content. People who've actually actively abused children sexually. No doubt some physical as well, like just not sexually, but still. It's absolute absurdity that this is what's come from the fucking horse's mouth. Like, accusing people of siding with paedophiles when the problem isn't to do with people online. It's to do with the people who obviously cause the harm. It doesn't take place online, by the way, because there's many methods around it. There's encrypted fucking services. and those aren't necessarily tracked on a file because it's encrypted. So even then, file access fails. And you've got plenty of other services that mask itself, so again, tracking these people is impossible, and the only select few you'll find are complete idiots in that space. That's not good for vigilantism either, because now people, the layperson, has no way to track these people, because you've essentially exposed a certain type of people, a certain demographic, and now these other people, they get to go away free still. Why? Because you didn't give a fucking shit about solving the problem, about addressing the actual problem there, that people are again doing these malicious things in encrypted networks. So if you wanted something to target those. Get people like investigators or police, I don't know who at this point. Do we have like a secret service like FBI? I don't know. Pretty sure it's like MI7 or something. But, or MIT, maybe? I'm not sure. Wait, that's Michigan Institute. Maybe not one. But you need people specifically to do these undercover operations, not surveillance, which puts everyone at risk. You know, it's like the equivalent of essentially sending round the National Guard to every single city in the world to look at people's like computers with guns to their heads, essentially. And that's what it is. Like, it's basically robbery. It's such a massive issue, and also you don't even know who's actually part of the National Guard, so people could be doing this maliciously. You know, someone could have been doxxed and they suddenly there's like a predator or sort of person there, I don't know, like, not sure what the actual name is. I don't know, criminal is probably a better term actually, predator, but someone who intends to cause harm. They go dressed as a National Guard. They bring a gun, a real one, and they go around the house that they supposedly doxed, and suddenly you have a murder case in your house. That's the danger of it. And also they can disguise it as like, oh, he's attacking me. I had to shoot. That's how fucking dangerous this is. It's similar to sort of how ICE works in the US to an extent. Oh my god, it's unbelievable. I literally can't believe this has even been suggested. And not to mention, you have a fucking shit ton of devices to go through, and even if you do catch people, it's like, it's not going to result in much. There's not much good that's going to be coming from that. Because you again haven't addressed the core problem. It's the methods that they use, not the fucking devices they use. Not the files on their system. It's just incredibly dumb, and that's my limited knowledge of IT security. You know, I've learned about some of this from like the PC security channel, but I've learned of it from other people too. And this is just over the years I've been around the internet. So again, file surveillance is extremely dangerous. Like, it's so dangerous that if it does go into effect, start removing your devices, start deactivating it, make it go offline. Like, seriously. You should only use them by limiting your usage of it. So maybe even get a new device and have that be your one size fits all, like one Amazon site. So you log in like normal, really, or one for emails, like different passwords as well. That's important for that. Obviously, write them down if you can't remember, but you literally need to take safety steps in this case, and I'll try to suggest more. I do suggest a extra device to access these online features, so that you're not as compromised if there is again a data breach, and hence the surveillance, hence the access of files. So it's very important to again ask yourself and protect the data as much as possible. And also for like text and stuff, like still you should probably use encrypted networks, because that's going to be the best way to protect yourself from being scammed. Unfortunately, like some people, I guess, just needs social interaction, but they can't really do that properly when they're being surveilled. Like, there's no so much surveillance there. It's like, the other thing is that it is a danger to children as well. The children are not using encrypted networks, so their messages are going to be scanned, their files are going to be breached from that, and let's not forget that from certain ages are different for every child, there are going to be like explicit stuff in those fucking messages. It's just given at that point, unless the parents have monitored it, but that's going to happen. And it's going to happen where there's bad parents, unfortunately. So it's a danger to children to have that exposed. That's why this is all so absurd. And I remember when I was young, I was like 15, so I was going out with my best friend's ex, for things, and this was like the closest to literal nudes I ever got. And luckily it didn't happen, but either way, it was very close. It definitely felt like we were getting along, and there was definitely an opportunity for it. They were even sort of organising like, hey, can I sleep over at your site? That sort of thing. So, yeah, like, it's absolutely absurd. And yeah, those texts get compromised, and so like, you dox people as well from that. That's what file access does. So yeah, don't let idiots fucking put this shit in place. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's absolutely absurd. And even then, if there's like actual justice, like, it doesn't fucking matter in the end, because everyone's going to be compromised again. It's going to be breaches. Security is always a big issue. Again, a matter of when, not if. Because every security can be breached at some point. So, yeah, I hate this. Simply put, it's not good for anyone. So, I hope it doesn't happen. Let's try to move on to the next topic anyway. Well, here's a topic I didn't expect to be talking about, but I just remembered it, and it's kind of important as well. It's not really important to my personal life, but it is personal for my mental health even. But it also sort of explains something as well. So for those who weren't aware, last year I made a Jingle cast, and to explain that, one of my favourite times of the year is the Yorkscast Jingle Jam. It's a really nice wholesome bunch of streams. It used to be a month long in December, which is insane. You could tell that it was taking a toll on people. I remember specifically a clip of Lewis in the morning just playing some of the not bundle, fuck, I won't call it bundle as well, collection games, although it used to be called a bundle, but they had to change it for various reasons. But I remember Lewis playing it and just going nuts, like losing his fucking mind on it. It's so funny. But that's why it's one of my favourite times of the year. It's like, it's so random. Like, you don't really expect a lot of it, and it's always fun to see everyone come together and just play games and talk even. Like, there's even like karaoke, which is like a game version. Called Marioke, I think it's called. It's really interesting. I love these streams. I've watched them since 2016. The fact it's almost going up in like 10 years is insane, actually. So yeah, that's one of my favourite streams, but one of the traditions is Jingle Cats. And they do this every year, every first stream. And it's always so entertaining. The idea came along during COVID, I think, with the lockdown. Or maybe a bit before that as well. But they start reacting to these Jingle Cats and stuff, and it's what people have made. Some have put a lot of effort into it and others not so much, and there is a ban on AI, I think, which is good. Not sure if that was applied last year, but I think the year before they didn't. I briefly remember a lot of controversy about that because it kept actually disrupting the process and just being bad. Yeah, but I made one last year, and I did this hand drawn. I tried to animate it as well, but I was really shit at animation. I wasn't happy with it. It was really bad, and I basically remastered the audio track, which is Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas, but doomified. And it's the only cover on YouTube, as far as I know, that's actually doomified it. Because there are some out there that are just remixing using another Doom track and actually like just putting the same song over it. It's just so lazy, in all honesty. I was never satisfied with that. That's why I made that track years ago. But it's interesting, but I made a Jingle Cat and I was actually almost next in line to get reacted to in last year's live stream. I was really fucking nervous. It sort of made me realise I don't actually want to do it again. In all honesty, and I've even got some of those. I had an idea for like this year's, but I'm deciding not to. It's too much in all honesty. Yeah, the thing that's like that anxiety alone is quite draining, and I do not really want to go through that. There's also the fact that I don't think most of the time I really read descriptions or anything. So with my sort of skill set, or lack thereof, I don't really want to like do that really. I don't really want to be reacted to. And given the nature of my awesome, it's very concerning because I do not know how to prepare for that mentally. It's actually pretty crazy. Just trying to make the podcast next one, and the previous one I mean. That's why I'm distracted. That should be okay now. Yeah. My goals. As much as that was kind of interesting and I tried to sew in as many references as I can, people did seem to like it. There were a few that didn't, but for the majority it seemed that they did like it. It's a few weeks of effort and I was actually trying to give it my all. As a love letter to the Yogscast and Jingle Cats as a whole. It's really worrying when I do get negative reactions because it's like I don't know if these people even understand what struggles I go through. So I don't know what exactly is going on there. It is getting scary. Again, I'm not sure how to mentally prepare for that, and even with like the Yogs reacting to it, it's like I don't actually know how to respond to that, if at all. I look at that like Jingle Cats, how well did it do? I might have actually brought it up just casually at some point, just like I might show up in the thing. Hello? Google? Was it not searching? Okay, that's stupid. I guess I have to wait. Yeah, it's like, it's seriously concerning because I do not know how to respond to that shit. And I want to make something good, but I'm really not good at it, and some of the references I did as well, there's quite a lot of other references. It did take a lot of time to figure this out. You know, the entire concept was Doom Cat, and it was basically Doom Cat versus a dog world. And yeah, like the dogs are basically the demons, but that's the only way you can make that sort of dog versus cat thing. You know, I realised that I couldn't actually make the demons into cats because, you know, how do you fucking make species of cats into demons? Like, I could only list like a few, but there's like tons of dogs. So the dogs really seem like the best choice for me. You know, I've grown up around dogs and I love them. So that's one of the main inspirations for that, and given that it's like doomified, I'm not actually going to do something about killing, obviously. So I made it about instead distractions or basically satisfying the dogs. So it's like a tennis ball launcher shotgun, like even the fucking BFG is like a tennis ball thing. What's a yarn ball? Yarn ball actually is probably what I did. I don't know why the video isn't working. Like, probably search on my own channel faster. It's fucking stupid. Studio is just bad. Yeah, so I'm not really willing to make one. It also took a lot of time. Yeah, there we go. Semi-previews, okay, 10 months ago. So I actually released this in October as well, so no, November. Yeah, 5 likes, not bad. Some of the references are just so awkward as well, and I sort of drew Lewis as a fucking that Spiegel character from Futurama. That's it. It's like that human cat thing, human someone. Yeah, I sort of drew Lewis as that. Basically, it's quite funny. Yeah, there's like tons of references here. It's just to make it like as animated as I can. It's just like quick drawings and stuff. I remember what I did with the giant dog. Yeah, I made it a wolf. Yeah, and the wolf laughing at me. Yeah, again, a lot of references. Yeah, I forgot I also put Lewis in the fucking thingy as well. Oh boy. Tons of references. I also show my work at the end, like working out the behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm not willing to do it again, really. Like, this is the thing, it ties into my mental health because not only am I panicky about seeing a reaction, having it reacted to, I was also about to turn off the stream actually. I didn't, just wanted to try and let it happen to get used to it really. That didn't happen, so it's like, okay, thankful for that. But the other thing is, I don't know what's causing my inability to draw. Because people have complained about this a lot whenever I posted my artwork, whenever I post character drawings. And I'm even asking like, why doesn't it look right? Because I can't figure it out. It just never looks right to me, and the only thing I can say is that it just doesn't look accurate enough. Meanwhile, everyone else is not really providing solutions, not even providing any sort of actual, I don't know what to say exactly. It's like, if I was to just get a name of a disability like dyspraxia or dysgraphia, which I'm pretty sure it is, but there's something else as well, because there's no way I'm so cognitively inept at drawing that it just looks so inaccurate. Yeah, I struggle with perspective a lot, and you'll see it consistently in my drawings. Even like just drawing lines is hard because it's always so squiggly. So I've got like multiple things going on there, and that's literally me at my peak. Me during the Jingle cats. So yeah, I'm not gonna make another. I did see someone say that I look forward to next year's. I did say it's a consideration, but I don't think it's guaranteed. So yeah, that's that, I suppose. I'm not really sure what else to say. There's not really anything that people can do to encourage me, in all honesty. Again, I just feel so inept at this sort of thing. It's not my skill set, and so I should probably just stay out of it. And the music itself is easy enough, and even then, like 3D animation, as much as I can pick that up and probably learn it very quickly, I'm not so confident it'll turn out right either. Again, because of perspective things and also the learning process, which itself is a difficulty. Again, of learning delays, and that means everything I learn could take like weeks to months to even understand. Sometimes I only realise it when I'm like laying in bed or something. It's happened consistently throughout not only just childhood, but my life in general. I have those realisations a bit too late, and it's like, oh, okay, so, yeah, sort of squanders my opportunity for many things, and even a decent child's career. Great, and low confidence as well. So I can change, I can sort of been brought up that way, and lied to a lot of my life, so how do you not? First, I'm not making a Jingle cats this year. I'm not even going to bother making a song either, which I was kind of planning to do. I was thinking about doing, well, let's do like metal remix, I guess. What was I? I was thinking about covering York songs, but in the end I decided not to. Metal's a very niche thing. It doesn't seem to appeal to most people for some reason. So I'd rather just keep it to my confined space of supporting like underrated covers and bands and stuff. So yeah, underrated games as well, underrated tracks from them. That's one of the important things to do. And I try not to make it about the most popular track in the game. It's often about finding the hidden ones, the gems. That's why I do that. Anyway, let's move on. So, there's apparently been more news on the Discord leaks, which happened on the data breach, technically speaking. And it's even more concerning than initially thought, because the problem isn't just the fact that data has been leaked, obviously government IDs, and I don't know if there's conversations or anything. I didn't really hear about that. But if there is, then that's also really concerning, because it means any child who's been using Discord is at risk, and apparently many children IDs have been leaked as well. So, what the fuck gives? Like, how did this even begin to happen? That's where my visible confusion is with this. And according to the video I saw anyway, this short actually is one video. This is a guy claims that this leak happened because of a bribe. And I wanted to talk about that. Apparently, I'll say infiltrator because hacker's like a fucking dick stroking word, let's be honest. But the infiltrator basically bribed the security guy, I think it is, or whoever's in charge of Discord security in general, and was able to get access to plenty of information on Discord through this method, and apparently spent about 58 hours there. Now, if that isn't ringing a lot of bells, then I don't know what will. Frankly, I don't think you're smart enough to even understand it. So, go away. But for those who are, stick around. Basically, this is a breach of ethics, and it's a conversation of ethics, because this means that there is a fundamental issue with how this is run to begin with. Because you put your trust in an employee to supposedly protect the data. I'm not sure exactly what their job is, 100%, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to allow that. So why take the bribe? Well, obviously because it pays more than the fucking job itself. Like, that's why. I don't know how much they earn, to be sure. Like, it could very well be a decent pay. But then this further proves an issue. The education system is failing. Just fundamentally so. And I've said this for years now, like since I left school. The way that education failed me there, as compared to like college, which was actually pretty fun, all things considered, is that I wasn't learning something I wanted to learn. So, when I got out of college, I was like, what the fuck? This is vastly different. Like, this is what school should have been. There's just been some pretty decent folk and similar interests. Like, I in IT, and that was my interest. Like, literally the thing I grew up with. And that also gave me so much hope, really, for not just my future, but for other people's, because it meant that we're all in this sort of thing together, and see enjoying it as well, to an extent. So, it essentially was a better system. I mean, while schools will basically put you onto a certain quote-unquote curriculum, not sure actually what it is, but it'll teach you specific things. But the one thing it doesn't teach is ethics. At least as far as I know anyway. Like, we didn't have it in school, and if they don't teach it now, then we're in danger. This is going to happen more and more, and AI is going to make it worse. The thing with ethics is parents usually teach it to begin with. I was taught the basics, like murder is wrong, but I was also taught things that are just inherently wrong, like other things that are wrong to be told, actually, not really the fact that it's wrong. But like, I was taught homophobia, I was taught transphobia, and that wasn't good. But there's plenty of issues with that. So, with that in my mind, I sort of believed that for the longest time. So, when it came down to it, I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm homophobic and transphobic, not really knowing what those were. And it's just like, realising that as an adult, I was like, what the hell? There's like gay people and trans people everywhere, so why the fuck are we doing this? Like, something doesn't add up. And when I found out someone I grew up with watching was trans, it's like, it's really eye-opening. I couldn't believe it. My perception of trans people had completely changed, it crumbled apart. This is what I mean with ethics and critical thinking, for that matter. Critical thinking is really important. I wasn't taught a single thing about that. Having split parents was definitely good in some ways, but bad in other ways. As proven with that, I was also taught about heaven and hell, which terrified me as a kid and almost made me take my own life, because, believe it or not, I wanted to get into heaven faster. So, as a kid, I wanted to kill myself to get into heaven. Luckily I didn't do it, but I could have very well gone close to it. That's how dangerous it is. This is what I mean by teaching morality and ethics and critical thinking. You prevent shit like that from happening. And also you could present it as something pretty cool as well, like present it as cartoon characters, anime characters, which you know I can do. And for some reason there's Erenville in Final Fantasy 14 here. You know it is here. It's interesting. Sorry, random tangent. But morality is like stupidly important for anyone, because it teaches you right from wrong, and it does it so not necessarily in a framework that suits you, but in a way that you can understand. And that's where you get your framework from. You get it from learning about ethics itself. It's really baffling when it comes down to it. It's really not that hard to figure out either, because I had to learn it myself growing up, and I had to learn it through adulthood and realise that, oh, there's actually more to this than I thought. Like, it isn't just about murders and abuse cases, it's about something deeper, something that has to change on the fundamental level. So that always changed did change my perception, but it always left me with doubts as well, because I wasn't taught about that at all. So it took me the longest time to come to grips with the entire concept of morality and even mortality, as that ties into it very closely. So, what I'm basically saying with this is, it's better to teach someone when they're young about morality, it's probably like a billionaire's worst nightmare, but that's a good thing. Because you need to actually start getting billionaires to start redistributing wealth rather than keeping it all for themselves. Like, we're not greedy, we don't want money to fucking get fancy houses and cars, we want money to get by. And that's different to what they're doing. That's why they can't ever use that sort of argument against us. And morality and critical thinking just addresses that like nearly perfectly. Because that's literally what we need at the end of the day. It's a no-brainer. So I don't really understand it when there's like people taking issue with the teachings of morality, because there is literally nothing wrong with it. And if there were, by all means, explain. I literally want to know. Because not having to care about that is probably good in the long run. Better for mental health, for sure. But so far nobody's presenting anything that's even remotely about that, not even remotely refuting the point. So you have this issue again, where we're like constantly on the fence about these things and unsure how to go about it. So I don't know what the best way to teach children of this about is. It's hard to say. But I think it's easier to present it in a way that can also grasp attention, because obviously mental health issues, but also apparently like schools nowadays are like far worse for children than they used to be, because there's a lot more discrimination, there's a lot more sort of infighting, I suppose, and stuff. I hear nearly constantly about stories of autistic children, for example. I myself was lucky to have a teaching assistant that gave a shit. A fair few, actually. But some don't, it seems, and they don't end up in the same situation I was, but I ended up having friends, and I ended up being one of the best things for me. It gave me a real-world experience, and it gave me some sort of hope. But you don't really get that with schools today, which is really frustrating. Also, like, no room to apparently like get yourself to like improve. Like, I don't know what to say exactly about it, but my experience basically wouldn't have been the same without that extra support. And I was grateful for that myself. One of the things I wish I was still taught was about morality and ethics, and it could have prevented like some of my mental health breakdowns as well. It's like, it's crazy. But the only thing I could say about the breakdown as well, a detail I haven't really revealed before, is that there was no evidence against me, which was concerning. Because I literally had it myself in, just out of guilt. And because of that guilt, it was crushing me, I started to learn about ethics as well. I started to realise like the wrongness in not only my actions, but what other people were doing as well. And that's a really good teacher, if people can actually frame it properly, and I was lucky to have it framed that way. I don't think other people really get off that lucky. That's also something I'm pretty grateful for. So, yeah, about the leak, ethics will also teach you about learning not to take a bribe. As simple as that. You know, if you're like paid really shit, which no doubt everything is now, then people are going to take bribes regardless of their ethics, even if they are good people. And it only happens because of greedy people. And it's basically a statement. Whoever this guy was who leaked the data, they're not actually that guilty in the long run, assuming their pay was actually lower than minimum wage. I can't blame them. And that's basically all this is. Like, you really cannot blame them. It's stupid to do so. Again, because they're not paid enough. Not paid enough to give a shit to think about the entire ethics around this. So it's not surprising. Honestly, it's not. Like, it's somewhat deserved, as much as I feel sorry for the people who've got their details leaked, again, I'm not surprised. It's completely deserved if Discord are the ones who decided, you know what, we're not going to pay you enough to basically ignore bribes. And even then, like, you should be taught that taking money from someone, even if it's a lot of money, to do a certain action, is in itself just corrupt. You know, it's absolutely broken. That shouldn't be happening. So it often really fucking sucks when you see something like this. And it's like, well, okay, but it needs to change. Like, that's a given, really. There's a fucking noise. What's going on out there? This keeps happening. Once people went fucking sharp. I'm busy. Fuck's sake. Right, nobody outside, so nobody here then. Stupid. Yeah, that's the thing with ethics. You need to give a shit about others more than yourself. You know, if someone paid you, I don't know, £1 million to basically leak this info, like, it's hard to not deny that because of just how tempting it is to use that money for good and to support yourself. Again, that comes with its own moral weight because you have to live with the fact that you possibly ruined many people's lives and potentially had money stolen from them, their IDs stolen, and potentially like put them on the street. Like, you have to live with that shit because all these actions have consequences. That's sort of where maybe taking the bribe was not the best thing either, because as much as it makes a statement about minimum wage, it doesn't make a good statement on your own personal being, and it means that you're probably going to be arrested anyway, but you're also probably going to be witch hunted because people won't stand for that, and it's good that people don't because it's scummy. You know, if you're only caring about money rather than how people feel about things, how people are struggling in their situations, and yeah, it's just selfish. And that definitely should be punished, in my opinion. Because it is corruption. And this is why people often want billionaires to be taxed and taken to court. Because they are scummy. They take money from people that they don't serve and let them suffer, let the people at the bottom suffer. So it's just really horrific. So I'm not sure what else to add to this, really. That's really the situation. I definitely wouldn't take a ton of money if it's on a certain condition like that. You'd have to think about the consequences, and if someone was offering it with a time limit, that probably means it's malicious. That's the other thing, because there's a way around this. You know, that security guy, whoever it was, might have been told, like, hey, if you let me access the data centres, I could pay you like £1 million, but you have to answer within an hour. It's like a really short amount of time. And that causes many issues because, well, it just causes many issues. It's obviously malicious, judging by the low frame in time, so you only have an hour to respond. That's bad. But also the amount of money as well also shows that there's probable damage in this, and obviously the greater evil is taking the money and letting them into security. But that's a really big problem anyway. But I don't really know what else to add here. To be honest, it's concerning as hell. The fact that this crap can happen, it doesn't leave me very hopeful. Especially for the future, like this is going to happen more often. But either way, so the situation is resolved because it's, again, pretty terrifying. And corruption is what's killing us. That's what's going to destroy us in the end. You know, it's only a matter of time before something of mine actually gets leaked. I don't even know where it can be leaked. That's the thing. so many things are linked to data centers and technology that it's just hard to pinpoint anymore. There's like zero way to pinpoint this to anything. So yeah, there's a real danger. High voltage. So I don't know what that comes to mind. Anyway, it's enough of that topic, so let's move on. Oh, here's a strange topic, which again I didn't expect to happen. So, Pokemon Friends has been out for a while now, I think. I saw Artie game play it. And it's a really odd game because it's basically puzzles, both Pokemon collecting and stuff. And it does seem a bit sort of underbaked, just from the get-go. I know Artie game didn't like it at all. You know, it's a Pokemon game at least, and it seems very innocent to start with. So the concept. And then Candy Eevee made a video. It's another YouTube channel I watch. Probably the only Pokemon channel I watch at the moment. I'll think about it. That's interesting. I just realised that. But anyway, she basically talked about the game, and at the end there was a really shocking revelation in that. Or discovery, not really revelation, I guess, but really shocking discovery. Pokemon Friends is a asset flip. Yeah. What the fuck? Apparently it's mimicking a game called Think, which is another kids game, but it's on the App Store and stuff. And it's basically the exact same puzzles, just with Pokemon. It's extremely, not really disheartening, but just lazy. The fact that this is how low the Pokemon company is sinking. Literally copying another fucking game, whilst also shutting down companies, suing them for supposedly stealing ideas. Like, you're fucking kidding me. Pokemon is like one of the most morally corrupt companies, as well as Nintendo, at the moment, because they're doing shit like this as well. As if the game's quality wasn't bad enough. They were also lowering it by doing an asset flip. Which is just, what? It's just so absurd. It's unbelievable. How's this even happened? It just completely baffles me in all honesty, because it's like, how, why, and when did this start happening? There's obviously something wrong with the Pokemon company. That's for sure. So I don't really know what to think about this, and I know Candy Eevee says she doesn't want this to become like a big drama. That's the problem though, someone's going to discover it at some point, and that's literally what will happen. And it's only a matter of time before people start picking up on this. And even then, like, someone's going to report on it at some point. Someone will have noticed anyway, just when it released. So, I don't really know what else to think on this. It's further proving that distancing yourself from anything Pokemon is probably for the best. It's very worrying. Really my only solution is to reclaim it and obviously preserve every fucking good Pokemon thing there is, because that may be the only thing that's left that's actually any decent. It's really important. I have Pokemon Black on my phone. Is it Pokemon Black? Pokemon White? I have one of them on my phone. I also have Gen 4, is it? Oh, I can't look. But you have to get these because at a certain point, Nintendo are just so morally corrupt that it's Pokemon Platinum, that's it. They're not willing to preserve these games and redistribute them so that others can play good games they once had. And it's a terrible marketing strategy to now we constantly release a generation every few years just to meet profit margins. Like, that's absurd. Like, it needs to stop. That's it, because currently it's destroying the Pokemon company as a whole. It doesn't matter that it's like one of the most profitable businesses in the world at the moment. It doesn't mean that it's going to have a good reputation. And arguably that reputation is what keeps it going. At this point, nobody's going to trust it. We've already seen how bad Pokemon Sword and Shield was, and then when the Switch 2 came out, saw that supposed upgrade, it's still bad. It just goes to show that they really don't give a shit anymore. So once you're weaker as players, I've encouraged people to stop buying into it. And that's the reason why I literally said when Scarlet and Violet came out, if you want to get a decent game, go with something else, like play Xenoblade for fuck's sake. I've heard that's a really good game. And I've heard it's better than Pokemon in a lot of ways. So it's just about finding something to replace it with. And there's even Digimon, which I'm a bit on the fence about playing myself, not because of the world, but because of the monetization. And does seem a bit suspicious. And the fact it costs £104 for the full game, including DLC, which is, again, scummy. The only saving grace with Pokemon Friends is that it's not live action slop, basically. Just what Candy Evie said. So there's no microtransactions, but still, it's still a lazy product. It's the same. It's almost the same as live action slop anyway. Because it's got this asset flip, it's so lazily done, and it's trying to keep you engaged by having these RNG elements. Like the whole yarn thing is just confusing. The fact that you need yarn to make these Pokemon collectible things, Pokemon crochets, is it? I can't remember what it was. But you need them to collect it, but you get a random one after each puzzle, rather than a specific one. So, for some stupid reason, they decided that for this puzzle game, they'd give you a random one instead of a specific one. Like, that's not comforting at all. And children are not going to enjoy that. Like, if they're going to want to make like a, I don't know, a Flareon, I don't know what's involved in that, I haven't played Pokemon Friends, they're going to need to get different types of yarn. And they're going to have to play through multiple puzzles, perhaps hundreds, to get that. Which is just so fucking stupid, it's so broken. Even myself as a child, I probably wouldn't do that. I didn't grow up on games which had this stupid system of RNG. I grew up on games where you unlocked stuff and you're able to grind them specifically. No TF2, I remember back when I started that. It's very simple, you go do your weekly weapon stuff. Weapon stuff, I mean like drops, that's what you get. It's like 10 of them a week, I think, and you craft them into scrap metal and stuff. And you upgrade that to reclaimed, upgrade that to refined, you get to spend that on the economy. Where you can just buy, well, items like, you can buy anything really. It does take a lot of collecting to actually get to the point of getting something expensive, something that's actually good, nice even. So it's very concerning. I don't really have the words for it. I don't understand why this is a thing. It's just so bad. But it should be a drama anyway, that it has to be. You know, people are going to misuse dramas all the time. It doesn't really fucking matter. You know, they're going to send death threats because it's a troll. That's what trolls do. You can't avoid them. Nobody should take them seriously at all. So giving them the attention as well, should go without saying, that just further entices them into doing it. So you have to, again, avoid this sort of thing. Ignore trolls and just let people go through the drama. It's something that needs to happen. Because again, it's all about getting Pokemon to go into gear and actually do something right for once. You know, if they pull the game off, because it is an actual asset flip, it's actually a complete copy of another game that they don't actually own, and the company that works for them doesn't actually own, from what I could see anyway. But yeah, there's something there, and they should probably be sued. They deserve it. The Pokemon's awful now. It's just really disappointing. So I don't really know what any other solution could be, in all honesty. Well, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. So, thanks for listening. Let's move on. Black Mirror Season 4, Episode 1. It's a really interesting episode, but I'm not sure about the ending. This is going to be spoilers, but fuck me, that was an episode. So, it's an interesting concept to start with, because it's like, it's obviously sci-fi, but you don't know much else about the world. Like, there's not really much else in that. So there's always sort of a mystery to begin with. And then you find out it's this sick fantasy thing where this guy's obsessed with this show, makes it a simulation basically, and has supposedly real people in it. Just trying to enact this show. And yeah, that leads to some interesting stuff. So it's interesting for sure. But then you find out that he's actually cloned these people. So he's cloned them into this simulation where they live as if they're real, but they're not actually real. They're clones, but they think they're real. That's the scary thing. It's like they're self-aware enough to know that, well, they have all their memories and stuff, which is also a sort of weird point. It doesn't make too much sense, but I guess in that future it does. Anyway, what a scary episode. It's surprisingly scary as a concept. It definitely caught me off guard, sure. It's not what I was expecting at all. When I saw that intro, I was like, it's going to be a Kurt Ratz, knockoff Star Trek. But luckily it wasn't exactly that, but it sort of was. I haven't seen Star Trek, it is on my list of shows to watch. And I do kind of look forward to it, honestly, because I've heard good things about Star Trek in general. There's very good sort of life lessons and apparently some decent comedy here and there. Not sure though, but I'd have to see it. To like this episode though, I'm not really going to go into details about it, I'm just going to talk about the interesting parts where they find out that they can't escape. And the reason they didn't bother trying to escape before is because they've already tried, essentially. And the guy having his poor kids put into the simulation only to be killed in front of him. That is horrifying. What did they do to escape first? They sent a message out it. And just tried to play it off, I think. Someone took the shot for that and saved everyone else, which allowed them to essentially make another plan. So they didn't squander it. But that does lead into the inconsistency issue. Because we saw Daisy, as he's called, teleport Cole at the beginning of that simulation when she is put into it. But at the end, we don't see him do anything like that. Unless it's to do with the ship, but that wasn't really explained. So I'm a bit confused about that. It's one of the first few big problems with that, because he could have actually caught up with them if teleportation was actually like something they could do just on the fly, especially as he's supposedly got these privileges, like admin powers to again be able to track them and hunt them down. So it's really weird. I don't understand what that was about, really. It seems like they would have been able to sort of track them down, I guess. So I don't know. Anyway, they come up with the second plan, which was seemingly to do with news. I was thinking, oh, they're probably just going to send him that to distract him so they can find a way to get out. But it's actually done in a different way, which I thought was really clever. They sent the nudes to, obviously, Cole herself in real life, where they still exist as real humans. And then they sort of explain their plan to her via a phone call, which I didn't even realise they can do, because it wasn't presented as such. I was a bit confused about that, because they could only send a text before. Maybe they figured out a way. But they do that by coercing her, blackmailing her actually, and she finds the DNA in Daly's actual apartment, takes it away so that he can't duplicate them, but yeah, she manages to escape after distracting him with pizza delivery, as she called earlier, and the people in the simulation, who are clones basically, and they manage to try and execute a plan of escape. They go towards a wormhole where there's infinity updates happening, and they go through the asteroid belt and somewhat succeed, with Daly chasing behind after realising that it's escaping. But Daly had this backup for the disc, which is interesting. There's a twist I kind of wasn't expecting. It's like trying to squander every possible way that he could get back in there. It gives them more chance of escape. Then he tries to chase them down in the ship. The disc, I forgot what it's actually called. There's like so many fascinating bits like that in this episode. It was surprising, I'll be honest, to think how they figured it out as well. But I suppose the next weird thing, other than him not being able to catch up with them even though he's running this thing, is the fact that they did escape, but they appeared in the cloud. Even though they were willing to basically kill themselves just to escape, but I'm not sure why they decided to risk going into the wormhole and, I guess, live. It seems very bizarre to me, and it also weirds me out the fact that they've waited this long, which was it. Like, the reason they can't go into the wormhole before is because it wasn't there. The fact they didn't try to manage to contact the outside world before is confusing, especially given they spent all their time there. So I'm a bit confused on that point. Then, what else happens? Earth? Yeah, that's a word, sure. No, the ending, yeah. The ending I'm very confused about. It seems like Daly lost, but then he come back, did he? It's like King of the Universe or something. Just kind of creepy. So it's not exactly like a bad ending, but it is kind of a good ending in a lot of ways. And then it just all turns into a bad ending. Anyway, I was just very confused about the whole episode towards the end. I'm not exactly sure what the conclusion was, and also where the sort of bad part was. Because usually you find with not necessarily the main character, I don't think Daly was the main character, he was more like the antagonist, the villain. But Cole was the main character here. She was essentially relied on for everything. And she didn't really do anything wrong, which is unusual. Because usually you have characters in Black Mirror here, as is the first 3 seasons shown, where they just have these traits where they do something explicitly bad. So I'm very confused about that. That definitely confused me. and threw me off. So I'm not sure what happened there. She also didn't really do anything bad with trying to save people, like it's just like a normal story. And that's what feels quite unusual, especially for a Black Mirror episode. So it's probably keep mentioning. So I'm not sure. That's the thing. It's a good episode, but I do not understand what's happening. Very simply, I understood everything up until the end. That's basically it. It's a decent episode either way. It's not really a bad watch. It is interesting. It definitely has some good sense of humour actually. I was surprised by that. That definitely caught me off guard too. It's quite a good sense of humour in all honesty. Yeah. It's a surprising lack of that in this show. Anyway, that's season 4, episode 1. Yeah. So I have an interesting topic, kind of. Really appeals to technological people. So it's not for everyone. But it bothers me. This is not a new issue, I've had it for years actually. But this is about how smart technology is just not there yet. And you'll be surprised to hear that because most people rely on it. Here's the thing. I don't rely on the stupid convenience technology. For example, to adjust music, I wouldn't use something like Alexa. I want to use something. Alexa, play porn. I want to use something like. That's the point, really. You can just fucking troll with it, and that's the problem. And that's why I don't use it. Because it can pick up on something that I don't want it to pick up on. If I say, like, I don't know, execute Protocol 66 or something, whatever that Star Wars reference was. And then it does that, and it's like, oh shit. And you know, we might even see in the future, like, governments do this. But they use smart devices to control the military and shit, and it's like, fuck me, that's gonna kill a lot of people. There has to be something done about this. And that's mainly why I don't use it. It's utterly dangerous and it's utterly pointless as well. There's a reason why people do things by hand rather than by voice in this case. But you might be surprised to know that I only use 2 types of smart devices. And these typically involve scheduling and customization. The first one I think is an issue I've had for a long time. Yeah, I've had these. Some of them survived though. But I have smart LEDs. Pretty much everyone has them, let's be honest. But I don't have the brand specific ones, so I don't have like Alexa activated ones or like whoever the fuck, like Thingamabob. Anyway, I don't have any of that. But I have the stuff that uses software. And you can update the software and update the LEDs along with it. And I've got like 2 different types because frankly I'm tired of them. They're so shit. But the main problem, other than lack of customization or proper customization, is the lack of profiles, lack of like actual customization that you'd want in that. So for example, if I want a sort of lighting up thing, like I've got rainbow LED sort of at the moment, pansexual colours for both my LED lights. But only one will allow me to choose those colours, and the other one requires a preset, which is really fucking inconvenient. Like, letting you choose the colours is really important. It's stupid not to allow you to. But this other one that does allow me is good, but it's not perfect. I've actually had to pick it from a preset because there's so many lights on it. So many lights to even manually adjust. It's too inconvenient. There's no way to actually properly, anyway, basically get all of it highlighted and do that way. Like, I can't do like a gradient or anything, and the software's just so underbaked. But that's only part of the issue, because believe it or not, there's another one. other than, again, the one with more customization, the timings are an issue because I have them on a timer. And this is what I mean by profiles. You need profiles to have different lighting options going on at different times. And say I want to wake up in the morning to a nice like orangey glow in the winter. I can only do that with, I think, one of them. I should better check that. But I want that to happen because it gets dark in the winter, and I want it at night as well because it gets dark at night. So I've gone to the app, the more decent one. It's not perfect, and let's see a timer. Only one timer, great. That's stupid. Fuck me. And so no settings, no, nothing's changed. Unless you can add another one, but I'm not so sure. No. Okay. This is annoying to go back, because sometimes it changes the settings on the, when you use a remote, which is annoying. But it only has a timer, which is annoying. No, like, you can put it on temporarily sort of thing, which is also annoying. So it goes on at 5 o'clock and it turns off at night, which is, it acts as my nightlight as well, because I don't like going to sleep in complete darkness. It freaks me out a bit. So I've been doing that for a few years, and it did have anxiety for the most part, waking up from nightmares. Yeah, like, it's so on the base because I want to have multiple schedules. And in the winter, especially, I want to be able to see the lights go on at those times as well. But I don't want them on all night. And that's the difference, because it will keep me up if it's on all night, which is a danger to mental health, for sure. So that brings in many issues. So I don't know why both the softwares don't have this. The only saving grace is really that they can be put on the onboard memory, but they don't have profiles, like I said. So the lack of customization is massively problematic. Just in general, overall, like, entirely. Like, it's just fucking shit. Like, you have to be kidding me when you release software like this with this much customization on the more decent software, as I keep saying. I just call it software A, software B. And software A is the shit one. But software B, you can do so many things right, but you can also still fuck up majorly. And that's one of the main problems with smart LEDs that I find at the moment, is finding software that's actually any good, that's associated with it. Because I'll make a compromise on the LED front if it meant making a better software. But at the moment I can't do that, and stupidly enough, it looks like I'm going to have to add another device to address the fucking like morning situation. Like, how the hell am I going to have like a nice morning if I'm not going to be exposed to more light? So it just doesn't work. Like, all measures, it just doesn't work the way it is currently. And the only thing I can really think of is doing like separate backlights, but even then, like, if I do one set of LED lights like with software A, I could do another set with software B. But that still brings in a problem of, again, only being limited to 2, so I'm actually going to need to buy an extra fucking LED. I don't know how much plug space I even have for that, so again it causes more problems than it solves, which is a major flaw with LEDs. I think I've covered most things. The remotes are annoying, they run out of battery really quick. I found they changed the settings, so if you wanted to go back to your default onboard memory setting, it won't. It simply doesn't do that. Also, I have a really annoying sensory light thing just when I wake up in the night, just for that reason. And it doesn't have proper settings on it. Like, it's really bad. It also doesn't look the best. Like, for some reason the stars on it are green, which is very fucking bizarre. I don't know why it's a galaxy like that. It's very odd. I'm thinking of Aurora, or Northern Lights or whatever. Yeah, I don't get it. And it's not even software controlled, that's the other confusing thing. So you can't even do it in software. This brings on the next smart device issue, and it's one that happened last Christmas. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. I was getting from tears or complaining about this shit because it's fucking annoying. So I don't have a proper radiator in my ensuite bathroom, and that means that I have an electronic one. That's how I'm going to address it in the future when eventually I get a bath or a shower. I'm not sure yet, but I probably want a bath because I fucking hate showers. I don't know what to do about it, but basically that means that there's an electronic radiator which is plugged into the mains. What I did to address that was get a smart plug thing, a smart plug socket, I guess, and that will allow me to schedule it, which is handy because even though we've got main heating here, gas heating I suppose, which does go on a schedule and has multiple, it's apparently smart heating as well. This I'll have to do manually, which is incredibly frustrating, and one of the lucky things with the smart plug is it does have multiple schedules. It's the only device, only software that has that fucking shit on it, which is baffling. But it does sort of have issues there, because to go into it you need to log in, and to use it, it needs to be connected to the fucking Wi-Fi. Like, that's dangerous as hell. At least allow it to be onboard memory. Like, Jesus, I think it is on board, but because I've like come home and it's just been on. Jesus, that's still dangerous. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. I think that's a security breach. I'm pretty sure that breaks some EU laws. Forcing someone to log on to begin with is scummy. It keeps logging me out when I go to edit, so it's annoying. What's the other thing? No, it's not coming to me. But basically I have it on as a schedule, like for an hour or two in the morning when I wake up, so when I go into the bathroom it's not fucking freezing. Probably need to change the flooring in there to make it more comfortable. I walk hit midnight when that happens. But basically it just helps with heating, and in the winter that's quite crucial to me because I'm very sensitive to heat and cold. So that's why I have that. But again, the software feels incomplete just because of the online aspect, and that is dangerous, as I keep saying. People can hack into it. It's Wi-Fi, for fuck's sake. Not bloody Ethernet, where if it was Ethernet it'd probably stand a bit of chance. This obviously brings up a big problem because it shows that this software is already compromised in more ways than one. Not even necessarily just security, but everything else as well. I'm pretty sure the LEDs work from Bluetooth, which is good, but it's not so good for the smart plug. So it's naturally a danger. So, in my opinion, obviously, this shit needs to be fixed badly. I don't know who the companies are that are doing this, but they need to be held accountable by lawmakers and countries because there is a very real threat. And not to mention, they could just suddenly one day say like, "Oh, you've got our smart plug, but you need to pay for it. Now you need to pay for the software. You need to pay for the subscription," which is already happening technically. My god, is that shitty, and I'll find a way to fucking jailbreak it because fuck you, greedy cunts. I'm not paying for something again. I've already bought with my own money. It's unnecessary, and it's just simply a scam to even ask for more money. There's extortion as well to lock it behind a paywall. That's nuts. Like, I've already bought it, so why am I not able to use it? Just completely baffling. But I'm open to suggestions with that. Honestly, I have thought about that's trying to help. God, why does it say they're not a soul crystal? Rip. We really need people to fucking stand up for this and get proper regulations there. But I've thought about getting actual gas heating in there because that seems like it'd be potentially more effective. Also be a bit more energy efficient just because of the, I guess, the nature of it. I'm not too educated on it, but probably less electricity users. So it's kind of important, I suppose. Yeah, that's the thing though. I'm not exactly sure what to do here. It's an annoying situation. I wish there were better products, but I don't know where to find them. That's the problem. Because as much as you can have a reputable brand, that brand needs to be affordable for me, and it needs to just do the basics even. As I said, it's not even hard to have like a profile system. That is a basic feature for most things. I'm pretty sure the smart plug has that. So I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, anyway, it's probably time to move on because I need to eat my food here. God, type of food. Yeah, let's move on. Just when I think I'm done talking today, there's another fucking thing. That's probably why I shouldn't be on social media that much anyway. There's a topic that I talked about on Blue Sky a bit a few months ago. And it's about cyclists. But the story has a sort of true crime element, I guess, to it, because the story I saw on TikTok from BBC, unfortunately, fuck BBC, is about how this foreign guy, because we don't even know if he's an immigrant or not, who cares? This doesn't fucking matter, and luckily nobody was painting it, so that's good. But this brings up a problem of, well, why the hell did this person ram some cyclist off the road and kill her and act like he's a victim? It brings into question a lot of things, because this isn't a simple matter, in all honesty. And it's far more complex than that, because we have to consider what's going on in his head. It could be road rage, which is very common. And given that could be a thing, it's also very telling that that could be the very reason that it looks like specifically a murder, which is concerning, for sure. So the thing I was going to bring up was actually about how when we sort of rage about others, when we get angry about others like cyclists, we encourage others to do the same thing. And this leads to what we're probably seeing here. It's a risk. And this is why issues like this need to be majorly under control. Like, I literally think people should seek therapy if they're getting so angry at cyclists and stuff that they're willing to ram them off the road. Because that is dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. And people underestimate how devastating an impact actually hitting someone with a vehicle that weighs tons can actually be. It's really fucking deadly, and I don't know the specifics, so I can't say exactly what's needed. I don't want to, but it's still a danger. It's just worrying that that can even happen to begin with. So I don't know what else to add with that exactly. I'm pretty sure there's something else, but I forgot. It is concerning. Like, why the hell are we ramming these people off the road? Like, what gives? Like, what the fuck is going on in your head? But the other thing is the shock, because even though it seemed like the person was supposedly not guilty, it very much seemed like it was on purpose based on the evidence. And so what it looks like it actually happened is it's probably a road rage event. Thinking that, oh, knocked their cunt off the road and got distracted. And then, yeah, see what happens. But this comes with its own issue because, you don't know what's actually going to happen if you ram someone off the road, especially if they're on a bike. And if you don't know, it's especially going to be more punishing. So, yeah, that's going to lead to more issues. So it's hard to concentrate. What have I got this trouble again in Final Fantasy 14? It's the podcast Dias, can't pronounce it. It's a very complicated one. But yeah, that's going to lead to more issues, and people don't realise the consequences of their actions, which is sometimes unfortunate, but also just really bad. People need to think more, really. I think when there's any risk of hurting someone, remember that like tons of pain comes with death. It's just something fundamental to not just human nature, but animals. So it's always worth considering that, especially if you think you're acting out like Jesus Christ. The consequences can be so devastating that, like in this guy's situation, you may not have known that hitting someone with your van, hitting a cyclist, would have immediately killed them. And not everyone is going to know that for sure. That's not me defending him. It's me explaining why this could have happened. And again, it could be very well wrong. But who knows? But it does show many problems. The consequences of your actions are really significant to not just the situation, but your mental health as well. Because you have to live with that shit. And I've been through something myself, which I'm not comfortable about going into details about. It's a very much real thing because it does happen. You do get impacted by it, believe it or not. As much as people want to believe that they don't. It is very much something that happens, which is unfortunate. And really the only antidote, I suppose, is just not doing it to begin with. And it's a no-brainer, sure, but people really need to realise that in that moment rather than after the fact. It's really important. If it doesn't stick with you, then you're going to have problems. You know, I'm always thinking about this myself after what I've been through. So you never really want to forget that. So, I don't know if I said everything on that. I think I have. See up here, mechanics are difficult, and again, dead. Yeah, so obviously he's taken into question because it seems like a murder. He did call the ambulance, which I guess is a way to absolve yourself, but again, it's sort of like that thing where you make a big mistake and it turns into a big fucking consequence as a result. And it is your fault still, but it's still a mistake either way. It's something you have to live with, unfortunately. It's a very stupid mistake, if I'm being entirely honest. So, I don't know, that's really all that on that topic, I think, but the questioning and stuff was weird, I suppose. So asking specifically do you know it's looking there's no proof of where he's actually looking at stuff, so it looked very suspicious because it made it out that the guy was basically not looking where he was going, or actually murdered on purpose, which it seemed like it did because of a specific hit. It's hard to say, it's sort of he had more quandary in that sense. But I can't really comment on the crime stuff without really understanding too much about it. So I don't know exactly what the right answer is. It's concerning either way, the fact that people have this rage about cyclists, and it goes into another story that I have personally. Because I've had experience, not with something like this, but something that sort of ties into why this become a problem to begin with. When I was a kid, we didn't have to abide by those road laws at all. And in fact, if you're putting kids on the fucking road with bicycles, are you kidding me? That's child endangerment. The government needs to be held accountable. For adults, it's different because it's more, obviously, presence, I guess. You can obviously think more, make more informed decisions and stuff. But the child should not be put in that situation at all. But back then, we didn't have to worry about that because nobody was really on the road. There wasn't really any of this rage against cyclists. So there's never an issue to begin with. But when they introduced it, it was suddenly a really big problem. Nobody's on the pavements anymore, riding their bikes on there, so they were forced onto the road. And yeah, and actually brought with it tons of issues. Because people didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that these annoying little fucking bicyclists, bike cyclists or whatever, on the road. So people are angry, rightfully so. And they just didn't need to be there. That's what's confusing about it, in all honesty. So it's really confusing. Why? I don't understand why this happens. It's quite a shocking thing anyway to happen. But that's the other thing on this. Why the fuck was... Also, there's no problem with someone on the pavement, that's what I was going to say. But there never used to be. Never heard of anyone dying, never heard of anyone being injured. And the impact of a bike on a person, especially an adult, is going to be far fucking less than someone who's cycling and being hit by a car. So the obvious danger is not so much in how someone gets injured, it's like the impact of it all. And that's the problem there. So I guess that needs to be addressed properly before we start deciding like, oh, cyclists should be on the road. Just relatively so. Because that isn't necessarily the only problem. So I don't understand it again. It makes no sense. So it's just going to concentrate. I'm losing my focus on everything. Yeah, so I think the next thing I was going to talk about was actually related to the things that people are saying about this accident or technically murder. But they are blaming the cyclists. Exactly what I've said. It is about the rage. It's not about the fact that there's a cyclist there. It's like, this is like a hive mind almost of rage against cyclists specifically. Like, probably hate groups, let's be honest, they probably exist. But even though the cyclists are doing a good thing by reducing their impact on the environment, by taking obviously the route of fucking going on the road and cycling everywhere. That's objectively a good thing. If you don't agree with that, it's your problem, because that's actually a very good thing to do. And I don't know, is it more? I don't actually know. But more reduction in the environmental impact is obviously a good thing. Good for the planet, it's good for your health as well, because if you're cycling or exercising. So that's extremely important to acknowledge. Otherwise you're just being fallacious and just a complete fucking joke. Because you're not serious about it enough. So why should people take you seriously? I think I've said everything I can there. As I said, like in this study. But the final thing, hopefully, if I remember correctly, and I've just broken my zipper. It's to do with the comments I saw on that very video from the BBC, the short, actually. And it shows some really concerning things. It's like seriously concerning. Because it reveals that people just don't give a shit what the result is about whether this person was a criminal for killing that woman. It showed that they only cared about the cyclist and why they were there to begin with, in the sense that they were glad she died. I'm not joking. That's what happens. It feels so fucking dystopian. Are you kidding me? We seriously know right away, I can't believe that people are in the right for thinking a cyclist should be dead for going on a dual carriageway, which is just nuts. Like, looking at the dual carriageway where she died, there's not only like safety railings around it, but there's literal lanes where cars go in there to pull over for something. But you're pretty much safe there other than that. And how many times do you see someone broken down on a fucking dual carriageway? The amount of times I've seen them, probably like once or twice in my entire lifetime. I've been up and down these things like, I don't know, like every week. Which is just nuts. So I don't understand where that argument comes from. Are you kidding me? Are you this dense that you can't see that the cyclists themselves are literally fine to ride there. Like, if anyone chooses to ride there, it's not a problem. But you also can't discount the fact that if there's no route to go through all that, to avoid traffic and obviously accidents like this, then they're going to have to go on the dual carriageway. Even then, people might just do it for exercise. There's different reasons, and if you're not probing this, you're obviously being fallacious, and you don't have any fucking opinion here because you're basing it off of your own emotion. I would argue there's not really much of an opinion because you don't actually use reasoning. So it's extremely dangerous, all things considered. So I just don't like it when these sort of things are put forward. Like, yeah, people say it's hurtful, but is it? Because from what I saw, and what the investigators saw as well, it seemed like an obvious murder attempt. So, I don't get it. At the end, it's just confusing to me. It shouldn't be an issue, but for some reason it actually is. It's just so concerning. What's the other things to say? I said it was Rage, yeah. Pretty much Cyclist Rage or whatever you want to call it. It does show like apathy as well. Like, a really big problem with apathy in not just drivers on the road, but people in general. Like, yeah, a cyclist might waste a second of your time by making you have to overtake them on the road in a potentially dangerous situation as well, but it's probably something that happens. But you have to be careful with that because you have the advantage being a right side driver and you get to see all over the road. You get to overtake because you have the vision that can actually lead you to seeing what's going on. So you again have this advantage to take over, so it's not a problem. But people are making it out that it's a problem because of cyclists. That's literally the only reason I see. It's not a justification because of like inconvenience or anything. It's because they're literally a cyclist. Someone who's doing good for the environment. Like, what the fuck is this world coming to? You can't be serious, right? It's just surprising though to see that people are willing to blame a dead woman for something she didn't get herself into. Like, she couldn't have seen it coming. A van came up from behind her. There is evidence of that because the van was scratched from the front. Why would she be going towards oncoming traffic? Like, that sort of goes without saying. So it doesn't add up what people are saying here. It's completely ridiculous. Blaming anyone but the driver is again absurd. Like, you don't even blame the fucking dual carriageway which killed her. Supposedly, anyway. So it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't really know what else to answer this, but I don't have problems with cyclists at all. I wish there was better ways for them to like have like a way on the pavement, like a cyclist lane, or better room as well. Because one of the big issues with where I used to live actually is on the other side as well. I forgot. Is the pathway was so narrow that you could barely get a pushchair on there. Like, this is a huge problem in council places, well, cities or towns obviously. It's such a big problem that I'm genuinely surprised that there aren't more accidents, because it seems like it is an accident waiting to happen. And usually, where this also gets more shocking, this happens when, well, typically because they could make more room. There's literally space for a bigger pavement, a bigger road, and there's no excuse anymore. There's literally ways to address this issue of narrow pathways and narrow roads, so that cyclists can actually be more safe. But people, like even with pushchairs of children, are more in danger because of the narrow pathways, so there's only a winning situation for people there, because people with a bigger pathway, a bigger road for that matter, will have the advantage, because they literally, oh fuck's sake, tank. I don't know what's going on here. A bigger pathway is better. It's obvious. For some reason, it's not always obvious to people. So I don't know. I think I said all I can. This team's just being really weird. So let's move on. So, Black Mirror Season 4, Episode 2. I suppose I'm talking about this. It's an extremely good episode. It covered a lot of the problems that you'd otherwise see, and they didn't go to the uncomfortable parts, which I think no doubt many of us were predicting might happen. Because it is kind of like, yeah, okay, this surveillance stuff is bad. And you could probably see things you wish you never saw. When I saw the grandpa, I was like, no, they're not going to do that, are they? No fucking way, because even though the mother didn't seemingly have any issue, it's always a possibility they can go that way, you know. Like, you know, I won't go through the episodes, just story, simply because I'll just go through the important parts, and I made a lot of notes. It's really interesting. The reason why it's so scary is because it's basically surveilling everything your child does, where some in moderation definitely helps, but that requires good parenting. Simple like consent. You know, you're asked to put parental controls and stuff. As a parent, I was controlled that. You're asked to see their devices if they really need to, because it's for their own protection. And you educate them on like the scary things, like groomers and stuff. So all that is important. But I'd also say a sort of tracker is kind of necessary, but you can do this with phones now. So it's sort of dated in that sense. Didn't this come out in 2016 or 2017? So we had GPS anyway. So it's not even like there was a problem there to begin with. But the first most important thing I noted about this, with seeing all the interface in Archangel, as this episode is called, and there's the device that basically ruins everything. It experiments with pushing tech to its limits where it doesn't even need to have these features. Like, it goes feature rich, and it also made a statement on subscriptions. So I'm assuming she upgraded from the free trial to a subscription, which is weird. But you see, like, having all this tech, like being able to monitor the blood and stuff, is okay to an extent, but it does remove jobs. It removes like doctors from their jobs, which I'm surprised it didn't really make a nod at. Because, you know, doctors take the blood test, that gets sent to someone else to examine, to find all the vitals in that. And that's their job. That's someone who's paid for that, to do that exact thing. But obviously, if nobody needs to do that, then you've got this issue here, like in this episode, where you could just see, like, whenever you want, wherever you want, and adjust. Of course, that means someone is basically not being paid to do their job. The more people that adopt it, the more problems we get. So it was always interesting to see that sort of thing. It's happened a few times on this show already, actually. But pushing tech to those limits is like, it's bordering a human rights issue and violation, for that matter. Aside from the other things that happens. And from a moral perspective as well, like, that's why the show is so fascinating. Because I've got tech knowledge and I've got tech interest. So I have an insight into this that's maybe a bit different to others, and I can see the other flaws in it. Like other people, or companies really. Companies seem to forget that there are smarter people than them, even those that are not working for them. But I've made a few notes here, because it got interesting, because there was this filter with Archangel that basically censors anything stressful or gory or pornographic, as was sort of proven in the end anyway, but it censors it, and it basically blurs it with like just, I don't know what you call it, it is a blur, but it's not your usual type of blur. It's like a cracked sort of thing, so it's like distorted in a sense, like it's distortion blur. It looks like church windows for some reason. Which, now I think about it, that's actually kind of ironic. What the fuck? That's interesting. Called Archangel and it has church pane window censoring. Anyway. Yeah, it gets complicated when she realises that other kids are talking about this sort of thing. It's like a blur and like she can't. The girl called Cole, little girl, couldn't figure out what the hell this was and started experimenting, started drawing and then drawing her own blood because someone at school showed her or taught her what blood was and what violence was, and so she started to find issues and. The stress panic triggered and her mum stormed into the room. Also the grandpa fainting, which was the only part of him for some reason. I don't know what happened to him after. Maybe possibly died. Didn't really think about that before, but he probably died. But she went in, found her doing that, found her bleeding, found her angrily drawing. Just frustrated, and then tried to take her to a doctor to figure this out. Then discovered it was in fact because of Archangel, because of the filter. So she turned it off. Cole went back to school the next day, supposedly a bit scared because she wasn't used to it. There was a dog that barked her that scared her initially, and she got used to it, she got older, but back to her, I don't know how old she was, she's like 8 or 9? It can't be that young. Like, that's the weird thing about that. That's confused me. Because obviously what happens in school is that same kid who's like really sort of, I don't know, like weird. I think he was in a fight or something and then she suddenly saw it and she saw the busted lip that he had. And the guy said, I can't remember what his name is, just call him, I could look it up actually. Jesus Christ, my memory is so bad. See, characters, it's probably on IMDb. IMDb seems to be pretty reliable for listing characters. Let's see. Trick, that's it. His name is Trick. So Trick basically tells her about this, and Cole says like she turned off Archangel, so I can see everything now. Then Trick shows her porn and decapitation. Yeah. What the fuck? How old are these kids again? It's so shocking, but it's accurate as well. That's the crazy thing. As if she's been exposed to it as unusual to her. This is where the first really big ethical concern comes in, because spying on someone when you're a child would help with that, so you can address it, so you can actually teach them a moral lesson. But you should be teaching that without a filter or without even Archangel. So that's already a breach of not just a child's rights, but human rights. Because you should have been taught that from a young age. You should have been taught about sex education, you should have been taught about even stuff like gore, like murder. That murder is wrong. I'm surprised it didn't go down that route either, which is interesting. Sort of a lot of expenses to go there, other than the creep route, the groomer route. But it surprised me, for sure. So she's exposed to that, doesn't seem to care, and then eventually she grows up, and her mum doesn't really sort of look at Archangel, I mean. So she grows up and reaches the age of 15. And that's where things get interesting. So she still knows, what's his name, Trick, that's it. I forgot the name again, that's weird. She still knows Trick and hangs out with him. Then they decide to go out to a lake trip, and you probably know this is going. They just fuck. That's all they do. And because she didn't come home to her mother's, she didn't even. Well, the mother got panicky and paranoid, and then opened Archangel to finally figure out what's going on and found she was at a lake. And the mother was quite angry, and I was getting really worried myself actually, because how she responded to that was quite worrying. It's like, yeah, of course the mother would be angry for coming home late, but that also, in like a writer's sense, seems like foreshadowing. It's like, oh, you're foreshadowing something bad happening to her, in the end of happening to Cole. It's like, no, please no. Luckily, nothing. But it gets interesting when she notices that Cole is under a lot of stress and then gets that notification again. And Cole doesn't know about this, by the way. She didn't know her mum enabled it. She starts to hang out with Trick again and take drugs with him, where her heart rate was increased and the Archangel notified her mother of a narcotic alert, which freaks her mother out, because why wouldn't it? So her mother's kind of not sure what to do, but starts to get herself into gear and try and address it. So yeah, she goes to Trick and his workplace after face scanning him. But somehow they don't know each other, it's just odd. I don't know about that. I found that a bit odd. Like the fact that these kids also didn't know Cole's mom. So yeah, that happens, but I did note that there's basically no escape in this situation. Basically, I want to do something here. It cannot work. I think I finished today. Cole, I wrote down the notes. Cole has no escape if Sky tells her that Archangel is still on. So after Cole's mum confronted Trick to tell her to stay away from her daughter, otherwise she'll snitch on him, say that he's taking drugs and stuff with her. Basically, Trick has no choice but to break up with Cole to protect himself and not go to prison. So that in place, he has to actually break up with Cole, but he can't tell Cole that Archangel has been turned on again, because obviously Cole's mother did mention that to Trick. Trick being very well aware of it from before, and he thought she turned it off as well, but no longer. So there's no escape in that situation. Like, she literally has Trick and Cole by the tip of her fingertips. Like, she can do anything with them. So yeah, there's many problems with that. But it can also lead to another panic of like Cole maybe thinking she can remove it herself. By digging something into her skull and maybe accidentally permanently damaging herself in some way. That was something that I was concerned about myself when watching it. It's like, okay, this is scary. She might get onto it and realise, oh, so Trick can't even snitch to Cole about this, because again, it's bad things for both of them. So yeah, that's a rough situation. The other thing I said is when Cole breaks off with, well, that's just Trick breaking off with Cole, it might also backfire because of Cole's own emotions, and she might just do something that nobody expected. Might even didn't show depression necessarily, but she could very well develop it and gain other problems. And this is all because of her mother's interaction with Trick. So it is pretty scary in that sense. Damn it, still doing stuff here. Yeah. Then the other thing that happens, I didn't consider this actually when I was watching this, because it sort of ties into that thing earlier with having the filter turned off. How much education did she miss from that? Because clearly she did. So Cole got pregnant, and I didn't really consider that before. it's because of the filter, obviously. So of course that censors that. She would have known to use protection if it weren't for that, and Trick also probably manipulated her as well to do that sort of shit. Again, it's a pretty rough situation. So yeah, she also didn't learn about it, which again is very scary, and like underage pregnancy is already a big problem. That sort of shit would make it worse, and now I think about it, is Archangel actually like Christian values? That's kind of foreshadowing, ain't it? Yeah. So of course they wouldn't teach her about sex even under filter. Like, a secular company would actually allow a mention of it and just censor stuff that's actually harmful, like pornography. But even like stressful situations. But yeah, that's so bizarre. So the other thing, yeah, that's what happened. So Cole's mum figured out that she may be pregnant because of lack of protection. I think there was even that was actually the main motive. Actually, as now I've thought about it, the breakup happened because of that, not necessarily because of drugs, but it could be because of drugs as well. Because he got her pregnant without protection, that's obviously a woman on him. So Cole's mum actually got some contraception pills to prevent pregnancy, which caused Cole to be sick during school of all places. And yeah, she went to the doctor, found out she was on EC, whatever that is, something exterminate contraception, is that what it is? EC pills anyway, for those are. Somehow I don't know about that. I know it's contraception, but I don't know about pregnancy termination, that's weird. Anyway, so Cole learns about this and is confused. And she goes through the trash because she found out through the doctor that she was taking EC pills even though she didn't know. So she goes through the trash, finds EC pills in the trash can after emptying it, and gets really angry at her mum for it, naturally, but her mum wasn't there, so she's just frustrated and very worried about how she knew about it and how she knew about the pregnancy to begin with, which obviously makes her suspicious, which is clever. It's like one of those things where you don't even need the words, you just need to see what's going on to understand it, which is a really clever directing. And she finds the Archangel being used again and starts packing her things to run away. But before she can, her mum arrives back home and Cole leaves the Archangel there on, so she knows that it's been discovered, and stands behind her mum in a really cool shot where she's staring at the back of her mum, looking at the Archangel. It's just a really good shot. Honestly, it was pretty cool, pretty scary though. So yeah, it's weird. Also in the beginning I forgot to mention, Cole's mum had a very big worry about her baby when she was initially born. Also had a C-section, I think. But she was her baby was like taken away briefly for some reason, which naturally caused her mum to worry, and she was very attached. And it was also a case of Cole going missing briefly as a younger child in a playground, eventually being found, and that's why she decided to get Archangel. So that's important to note. So she was always having this fear of losing a child for like another time, because she thought she lost her at birth, and then again at whatever age she was in the play park, and then finally get to this ending, which is brutal. Cole takes it out on her mum, who's trying to basically protect her, and basically smashes her at the head with the Archangel. And breaks the Archangel, which is good in the tablet anyway. It's not to say they can't replicate it, but it pretty much knocks her out. I thought it killed her at first because, you know, you would have thought being hit over the head with a tablet, that fucking structure, that hard as well, the fact it didn't break properly. It's kind of crazy. So that happens, her mother's locked out, and Cole supposedly runs away. You don't find that out until the very end. But Cole's mom is just really panicky now because she realises that she fucked up and her child has run away. She's nowhere to be found. So she lost her child in the end at the age of 15. And Cole 15, not mother. How would that even be possible? Anyway, that was fucking scary. I couldn't even imagine that, even as a kid, like being watched like that. Because the only like bad thing, I guess, if it did, other than something traumatic that happens, probably attacking a shoplifter as a kid. That's weird. There's nothing serious though, which is I suppose the only saving grace with that, because I could have got much worse and I got caught luckily, and yeah. The other things, like when I was 14, obviously watched porn. Not surprising. Yeah, like I couldn't imagine being watched like that. Like that's fucking creepy. I wouldn't like that at all, and that definitely added to my stress and trauma. Even over time, that just add up and become more of a problem. So I'd hate that. Even then, there's like traumatic moments, events that could actually help. It could be used in like a criminal case and stuff. Sure. So whoever abused me and abused so many people I've witnessed being abused. There's just there are so many things wrong with this, and the lesson here is you shouldn't have to be overprotective. Like by all means keep a phone with your kid. Keep even like a tracker, like a GPS tracker, for especially young. But it's like the safe age, it's hard to say because nobody's actually safe. But children are far more vulnerable, and that's the concerning thing. There's one way in which it's kind of weird how Archangel is good in that way, but it's also one of the worst things. And again, it sort of ties into actual life lessons because that's the best way to address it. Yeah, Archangel's going to do so much, but it'll lead you to the fuck isn't nice. It'll just kind of lead you to just more problems, more stresses, even as like a parent. So you definitely can't have it like both ways. Like protect your child and spy on them. I think it has to be just teaching them important life lessons, like teaching them of dangers, teaching them of a lot of different things. That's really important. I don't think my childhood would have been the same if I wasn't taught about certain aspects of morality. I wasn't taught about all of it. I knew murder was wrong. I played games where I murdered people in the games. And yeah, that's all I got from that. And I was quite fortunate to really get away with just light stuff in the end. And nothing criminal. It's just good. It could very well end up like that. And I wasn't into drugs either. I was told never to take them. I never did. So it just goes to show that it's important. It's far more important to teach your children. And that's the other thing I saw as a kid. It was in secondary school. For some reason, when the teacher was out of the room, some idiot in our class, or a bunch of idiots, decided to put on a video. I can't remember where it was or how they even found it. I was pretty sure it was YouTube. It's like a video of a bike racer, those sports things, basically being beheaded from basically turning a corner and having their head touch the front wheel of another bike, which instantly decapitated them. Yeah, it's probably one of the most one of the strangest videos I've seen, I think. I'm not sure if it was even real. So I couldn't really find any proof of that later. It's like, it seemed to be really undocumented, so it seemed to be fake. It's just bizarre. So it's always concerning when stuff like that happens. Yeah, that's season 4, episode 2. It's extremely interesting. It's definitely worth a watch. And it shows like the dystopia and life lessons are more important experience even than having a watch why. You know, as I said, the bare minimum for protection these days, it should just be a GPS. The other things you can't really prevent. Like, unfortunately, there are things like attacks that still happen, like child on child, even just psycho fucking adults. Like, that happens. But it's not common, luckily, so it's just one of those things. Some things you can avoid, but others you can't. Yeah, that's it for that. I have to move on to the next episode. Definitely interesting. Again, definitely recommend. So I don't think I've ever talked about how I got into anime to begin with. It's a weird story, really. Because I grew up on cartoons, and that's where my love for cartoons probably comes from. I used to grow up watching Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. Never watched BBC, to be honest. Just the. Like, I don't remember the exact channels on Sky, but it was like 60 something. It was 6000 to 6010, 11 maybe? No, 611 even. Like, you had these numbered channels. I haven't used a TV in a fucking long time. Jesus. Or is this 7 instead? 700s. But it's one of them anyway. And that was where the Kiss channels were. But I was usually watching stuff on that between them. There's definitely something in between that I can't remember the name of. Oh man, no memories from that. And I had like VHS shows as well, like Trapdoor, classic. Tom and Jerry, I fucking love Tom and Jerry, but that was also on Nickelodeon. There's also SpongeBob, Foster's Home for Imaginary Parents, Billy and Mandy, Green Reaper, Billy and Mandy. I can't remember the actual name, but there's a bit of an Ed, Edd and Eddy like that. Blues, was it Blues Imaginary Home for? Oh, I don't fucking know. But there are a bunch of interesting shows on there. And yeah, there were classics, sure. Not sure what the best one was, but they also showed anime like Yu-Gi-Oh! Original and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. There's like quite a lot of variety, surprisingly. There was some I avoided, I think. I'm not sure, I can't remember which though. Yeah, there's like a good variety of them. That's what's interesting. And the animes were quite varied as well, because it's also Pokemon that was airing. And I think even a bit of like Transformers. It's just weird because that's like 90s. So it was always a bit surprising. But that was like my first exposure to anime. You know, just Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. And I bet people are surprised that I don't actually follow Yu-Gi-Oh! It's partly because of some childhood trauma, my cold stolen guns. But yeah, that's mainly why I don't really like it much, and it never really got into the game itself. It's more like the artwork. I was always fascinated with that. Same with Pokemon. Had the training cards from that. Oh, Fairly Odd Parents. We also had that. I watched a bit of it. Wasn't the biggest fan of a lot of these shows actually. So it really varied on whether I liked it or not. It's just depending on what I liked. But I think that's about it, other than Sonic, as well as like occasional Sonic shows, like Saturday Morning one, the Underground series. Pretty sure there's another. I've watched a lot of cartoons growing up. It's surprising. Obviously my dad and my parents used to introduce me to other cartoons. My grandfather would often watch King of the Hill, which is interesting. That's where I first heard that. And my dad used to let me watch Futurama and The Simpsons. But I was also allowed to watch like Family Guy and American Dad, which is odd, and South Park, which actually traumatised me. I remember this episode where Kenny gets shot in the head or something, and they're going down the street with his fucking lifeless body in a cart, waving at everyone like his friends. It's so fucking creepy. I'm gonna watch South Park again at some point because it does look pretty good. And it also is a pretty good show anyway, making statements. So that's something. It's quite a varied history, and there's of course like Adult Swim. As I was going into my adulthood, yeah, I had shows like Rick and Morty. What else was there? I can't remember. But after like the age of 30, I met my best friend in school, and got on very well, but I was introduced to other animes, such as Transformers Devastation and High School of the Dead. I can't remember if that's the name of the anime, but the Transformers anime is amazing. I fucking loved it. I think my favourite character was Blitzwing, the one who was in A10 Thunderbolt. And the anime I can't remember the name of. It's definitely like a high school thing. Oh my god, that was horny. Just big boobed women and a really weird bath scene in one episode that I definitely didn't rub one out on. That's a secret. But yeah, it's such a weird anime. Looking back on it, it was terrible. But it was okay at the time, I guess, for teenagers like me. It's very bizarre what some of these shows are like. Sonic X, that was another one. God, I didn't like Sonic X. It was not a good show. I didn't like it growing up, and I didn't like it in adulthood really. Just didn't really itch that spot that other shows could do. You know, still a massive SpongeBob fan really. And I always will be, because SpongeBob was pretty goated. At least in the early episodes. But yeah, that's kind of like the history. I don't really watch any other anime, I don't think. Like, I tried Attack on Titan like, towards the end of school entirely. And I did really like Attack on Titan. I still really do. Of course it's finished now. But I remember the myths about season 2 ever releasing. It's like, yeah, it's never going to release. Jesus Christ. Eventually it did, thank fuck. And it's finally finished. I'm trying to think, is there anything adulthood I watched? I obviously watched a lot more, and it's hard to list all of them. I've watched other niche shows. I liked Mr. Pickles from Adult Swim, but it's sort of going a bit off topic because it's really about the anime that I watched, which is how I got sort of inspired. It's really from those styles, and there's a variety of different shows, so there's no specific one to actively make you like what's going on with this dodging to make me sort of think, yeah, I want to make something in that style. Which is interesting, I guess. It's hard to pinpoint it because I think it sort of comes from not necessarily Pokemon, but the nicer looking animes. So maybe Attack on Titan to an extent. It's hard to say. So, I don't know. But there's been a variety, I could say that much anyway. It's interesting to look back on because, you know, it shows God's Tank hasn't figured it out yet. No, don't pull them. It justifies them, that's good. Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, I think we usually get this many shenanigans. But yeah, it's interesting, there's a lot of anime and I can't remember what the exact inspiration was. It's just surprising because it inspired me to make background art and then eventually characters. And even then, I've had inspiration since. So it's really kind of my cartoon history. Also, it's Tom and Jerry, if I mentioned that. But I tried to get introduced to other shows as well as like a kid. Postman Pat, Bob the Builder, Teletubbies. And I remember there's one about chinchillas or something. I can't remember what the fuck it was about. Oh my god, that guy, Blue's Clues? That's a classic. Yeah. There's a bunch of shows I watched as a kid, which I say I won't watch now. It's interesting to look back on because there's quite a varied history there. They definitely have a lot of influence. There's more shows than I could have ever remembered, actually. Jesus, there's a lot there. There's also this weird TV show on Cartoon Network. I remember I was looking for what it was. It's like German someone or something. It's like advertising Cartoon Network to the song Move Your Feet by Junior Senior, which is fucking bizarre. But I never watched that show. I think it came on like once or twice and I just didn't like it. It's like this weird sort of thing that takes place in someone's stomach. I don't really understand it. Oh my god, a bunch of odd shows here and there. Most of them are fine, but some very odd. Yeah, so I think that's it really. I don't really know any other shows at this point. There's not really anything else to my knowledge. Yeah, that's just an interesting history. Like, there's no real pinpoint for like anime. There's really a mix of things. But I didn't actually watch much anime growing up. That's what's crazy about it. It's really one of those things I got into as an adult. And more so as an adult, actually. And tons in between that, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. So, there was an annoying TikTok video I saw about someone recording his own dog, a really sweet dog, 16 years old, in a little mini car, wearing some clothes and glasses, and then some guy comes up to him and says, "That's cruelty." What the fuck? What cruelty? It's just so confusing, and this guy's threatening to call the cops on the dog owner. It's just what? I don't get it. Like, why? So, I wanted to sort of debunk this because, as a vegan and someone who's lived with dogs my entire life, I have a better idea of what's actually cruel to animals. And typically, in old age as well, there isn't really much that can happen that would make them, say, not respond to something that is actually cruel. Because if they didn't like something, they would actually address it. You know, I've been with dogs that have actually tried to attack me because I breathed on them. Unfortunately, there's a bit of childhood trauma that will never go away, but still, every dog's different. And what others are comfortable with doesn't mean others will be as well. There are definitely cases where they're not. So, it's a weird case because this guy was seemingly harassing the dog owner for this, even though he was just taking her along, this dog, in this mini car through a town centre. Supposedly remote control, I guess, because I didn't see any sort of pulley thing. But, yeah, like, it's so weird, and the guy who's calling animal cruelty was trying to phone the police and basically stalked him to, like, somewhere up the high street, wherever they were. It's just, what? It's such a stupid fucking situation. Because does this guy even understand what animal cruelty is? I guarantee you, probably not. And it's more than likely a case of indoctrination, possibly. Like someone who's been overprotective in the sphere of our family. And that can often lead to problems because that means you're not necessarily going to have the right opinion on things. And that can backfire because, again, when you're indoctrinated like that, it can lead you to believe in the wrong things, even though it seems convincing and seems unassuming. And in the case of like growing up with animals, you might find that people are overprotective of their animals. You might think that in old age they might want to go for an actual walk. And yeah, but again, every dog's different. And I'd argue there's actually cruelty here from the guy accusing this owner of cruelty by causing the dog to panic. Because dogs have pretty sensitive hearing, and if anyone even understands that, which this guy called him Cruelty didn't, let's call him Jules, it's just Cruel Jules. He clearly didn't understand that dogs have really sensitive hearing and are pretty aware. So him doing this to this other guy, to the dog owner, in front of the dog, is causing animal cruelty. Because yeah, they can hear this shit. So, of course, that's gonna result in, again, suffering. And given that the dog's in old age, that's really not something she should be going through. But let's look at the specifics where he might have thought this is cruel anyway. I did write some sort of notes here, but not enough, it seems. But is it actually cruelty? From my perspective, no. And I'll explain. The idea of putting clothes on dogs in itself has reasons. Think of the dog in old age, and especially if it's like cold outside, or just about to get cold, it's not a bad idea at all. And it depends on where you live as well, that's another important thing. So you can't assume like, oh, it's 16 degrees where I live now, but it's like, yeah, it must be 16 degrees everywhere else, but no, because it should be 7 degrees or something elsewhere at the same time that it's 16 degrees here. You know, that's how the world works, that's geography. It's also the fact that the dog is wearing what appears to be sunglasses. And a hat, actually, I remember there's a hat. But the dog wasn't protesting. So there is actually no cruelty in that at all. Because if the dog didn't like it, I'm pretty sure she would have tried to escape it. Unless she's been conditioned over time, which is hard to say. So in that case that would be cruelty, but we don't know that for sure. Given how sensitive dogs can be, it's like, yeah, like if she really hated it, she probably would have stopped by now. That's what the dog owner. So the only other thing really is the mini car that the dog was in. Again, not really cool. The dog's old, so she probably won't walk as well as she used to. But she probably still wants to go out, and also, I guess I should just say her parent, she's a dog owner. Her parent basically wants to have her alongside him whenever he goes out for walks, or goes out to the town. And no doubt it made people happy, because whenever they see a dog, it's kind of like, yeah, sweet. But seeing a dog in a car with clothes, like, it's even sweeter. So, yeah, it is a really stupid situation. I could very well be missing something from this, but I don't see the cruelty. But here's the other thing. What the fuck did that guy see? What did Jules see? Jules? It sounds like you, but Jules, the cruel guy. The guy accusing him. What the hell did he see that made him think there's cruelty? Genuinely. Because you can't be throwing around accusations like that. When I was young, I went to a park with my family and our dogs. I think, because we can't have two of them off the lead really, because they're too dangerous, but it's just something that happens to dogs that aren't trained. But our third one was fine. and he was happily running around in a field one day, and suddenly he gets attacked by someone else's dog who was off a lead. So when our dog comes back, we find the guy and he's like, what the fuck are you doing with his lead off? Like, blaming us for his inability to stop an attack. Are you kidding me? We have our other two dogs muzzled, and this guy didn't have his dog muzzled and blamed us for animal cruelty, which he did? Like, what the fuck? It makes no sense. And if it was, like, our fault, I'd definitely say that it was our fault. And the first two times, like, the other two dogs off and they attacked were both people and dogs, but luckily only very lightly. Yeah, that's completely our fault. We didn't know. So it's on us. Jesus Christ, what the fuck is with people? And this was like 2011, I think. That's what's crazy about it as well. This wasn't even during a time where, you know, you had like vegans and like goners who. But the guy was also threatening to call the RSPCA on us. So, like, what gives? I don't understand this shit, really. Because what's cruel to someone isn't necessarily cruel to others. I don't know if there's even like a communication barrier here. Like, again, I could very well be missing something, but that's the problem. If this guy's accusing cruelty, you need to have sufficient reason to believe that. But this guy in TikTok clearly didn't have any. It was like, oh yeah, you're cruel, but didn't say why. It's a bit like saying someone who drives a car is cruel, but you're not saying why. Like, driving a car isn't cruel inherently, but there is definitely some cruelty aspect to it. There's plenty of things, like just to name a few, like you kill many flies in a car when you drive, you can kill wildlife by accident, and the pollution stuff does kill people. So, yeah, it's not really that surprising. But you don't really call people out on that because it's not something you can necessarily control. You can definitely try and influence people into making better choices, like becoming a cyclist or using electric cars, using public transportation even. But yeah, you can't accuse people of cruelty. Like, it's just stupid. And it's again, like, I bring this up consistently because I've been in this situation. But it's literally like, you know, the more you bring this up, the less people will believe you. So when you're actually calling out cruelty, people are going to be like, oh yeah, Jules, or we don't like cruelty shit again. Let's just ignore him. And suddenly we have a case of severe animal abuse. It's like, oh, well, you're a fucking nut. You literally told people that this one thing was cruel. You're saying the others, but you didn't actually, like, fucking, they didn't actually justify the first one to begin with. And you know, it'd be different as well if, like, in this example of TikTok, if Jules did see animal cruelty to begin with, but no, he was just a passerby, judging by the video. That's just, God, it's absolutely nuts. What a strange topic though. Like, why do we even have to define this? Like, surely everyone has the same idea of what cruelty is. But no, Jules just proved that it didn't. It just proved that his idea was obviously cruelty, which it wasn't proven. Fuck me, I don't get it. Yeah, shit makes no sense. I don't understand, really. Anyway, I better move on, because I've got stuff to do. Maybe for Final Fantasy 14 maintenance to be on, so I can play that. Yeah, so that for that topic, so let's move on. It's a topic I probably haven't talked about. Excuse the blank screen. I'm not playing Final Fantasy 14 at the moment. I'm just taking a break at the moment. I'm not like a big break. I'm just not playing it at the moment. It's been it. Yeah, I don't think I've talked about my favourite TikTok trend yet in the month or so that I've been on TikTok. And because it's mainly filled with political stuff, it's annoying as fuck to see all the time. Because it's usually just like a mix of, yeah, things I agree with and things I disagree with, which just angers me in the end. So I don't see any reason to watch these ones I disagree with, so I just skip them. But there is a trend I do enjoy, which is quite neutral, and it's surprising actually. And it's what I'd call the plus a view meme. It's basically, it's not really a meme, but it's like a trend anyway. But there is like funny parts of it. I'll explain one of the ones I found. But I get recommended these really amazing TikTok shorts of people going to these places. Like, for example, there's two types of shorts you'll see as a template, maybe even three. The third one we'll talk about at the end. But the first one is because one of the things I have to explain actually before this is actually they play music in the background. It's Gorilla's Feel Good Inc., which is a banger. But they specifically play the part that transitions into that very euphoric ascending bit. Just really accurate for what it is, and this is where the view comes in. Because typically the short's focusing on a location. So in the first template, they focus on being on the ground looking up at a mountain or a hill. And they say, I wonder what the view like's up there. And as the song transitions, so does the video. So it just goes into the fucking view that's from up there, which is incredible. During this euphoric bit and the Feel Good Inc. song. Oh, it's so good. Just that mix of artistry is just, yeah, that's amazing. And also the views are just incredible usually. Some real hidden gems on Earth. And what people find is really like jaw-droppingly good. That is crazy. Then there's the second template where they'll have gone to the place where there is a view, but they'll show the ground first or something, or a bench, and then they'll just turn around and show you it. It's fucking crazy. And they'll see the same music. Yeah, that's incredible. I'm a real sucker for landscapes and views like that. It really gives it life. It gives life to the planet even. It shows you that there are probably much better places to live and to be around even. Yeah, I quite envy people who get to live in places like this, because it's like, wow. Like, fuck, I'm seriously jealous because I'd love to be in a place like that. It's usually like mountain ranges of usually European countries, let's be honest. Europe seems to have the best sort of views in general and landscapes. So yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's definitely my favourite trend so far. It beats the old yeah, I can't say it, politics. Jeez, I get stutters, I don't know why. And maybe I have a brain eating virus. Maybe I have brain rot, maybe that's what it was. Jesus, okay. That's a revelation. Anyway, the third thing, I almost forgot about that. I've only seen one so far, but the one I saw was hilarious. Basically, someone was like behind their friend, and they tripped up their friend on the floor for some reason, and just fucking panned the camera over to this amazing view. It's so funny, but so wow. That's genius. That's commendable. Like, holy fuck. Yeah. So it's really a good trend. I recommend people look at it. I don't know what the actual name is. If I knew the name, I'd definitely share it. but my god, it's one of the best trends on there. It's definitely a good sort of neutral thing as well. Like, there isn't really much wrong with it. You know, people do travel, and I don't know if you can really avoid that, especially without the environmental cost. But overall, it's fine. You know, gives you a bit of dopamine, gives you a bit of sense of like, wow, holy crap, that's a beautiful view. So yeah, that's enough of that topic. So let's move on. I've got another discussion about Pokemon and nostalgia. Well, yeah, it's pretty much both actually. Just trying to figure that out for some reason. But, oh boy, Pokemon Legends EA is out and it has high scores. Why? Because from what I've seen so far, it is utter garbage. Like every aspect of it, pretty much. The battles may be unique, but they don't really explain like how it works. So if it's turn-based, then I don't know. Like it doesn't look like it, but apparently it is. Apparently it isn't. I've been watching Bedouin players. I'm watching his Subathon. Yeah, like Pedguin only played it to judge the game, and there are tons of issues. I recommend you check out his stream, assuming it's not taken down. I did briefly pop in earlier to see how it's going, and apparently his last ward was struck, so maybe the criticisms have disappeared. But it'll probably do one towards the end, and it might be even be clipped, so it's probably worth checking out that. But he had played Digimon before this, and that was to spite Pokemon essentially, which is good. I like to see what Digimon was about mainly, but because Pokemon had fallen so much. So that was an important step in doing that. So from what I've seen, there are a few glitches. The music's actually alright so far. I quite like it. I'll definitely give the soundtrack a listen. But it's not good, and the animations are stiff. There's no voice acting. Some of the attack animations are improved, but they don't look still that great. They still look a bit unfinished here and there. Graphically, it looks awful. Like, Jesus Christ, I've seen. Like, I'm pretty sure that Scarlet and Violet is worse, but this is just. Christ. Like, there's so many missing details and stuff. Like, even the mountains, you could tell from a distance, look like they're really low poly, really low textures. It is atrociously bad for a Nintendo Switch 2 game. For these graphics, like, come on. Are you fucking kidding me? But then I had a realisation. Like, with the lack of voice acting, tons of reading, and just some weird quirky stuff that goes on in Pokemon, even though there is an argument about having it be designed for like older people, like people in their 30s almost, who grew up with Pokemon, that's a big problem in itself, nostalgia. And Pokemon was consistently complaining about the lack of voice acting, which I'm actually a bit mixed on. Because I used to be a very big pusher of the voice acting element for Pokemon, and I do believe it's still necessary. The problem is, Pokemon Company and Game Freak for that matter are still stuck in their old ways, and they're not willing to add voice acting. I remember Pedguin interacting with an Eevee that was just sitting there in the world, and it had the default, pretty much old Eevee thing, like, not the voice, just the fucking little noise. Like, what the fuck is this? And that's when it really clicked. It was like, wait, they're doing this because of nostalgia or something. So these games are compromised by this so-called like love of nostalgia or something, or just keeping it up, or tradition maybe. And that's exactly what's killing it. That's what's killing the franchise. Even though they're making all this like slop and stuff, as we've seen, like the Pokemon puzzles being a complete asset flip. It's trying to make like a MOBA and stuff in the TCG game, which just looks fucking awful. I don't understand why anyone likes that. It's a gacha. It's gambling. It can fuck right off. Burning the hell that it fucking created itself. Put itself in, even. I don't know. It's a big problem. Why is this nostalgia being used to essentially build these games? To make them what they are? It doesn't make any sense. When you could improve the game, make it a bit more like Digimon where it just evolves. I'd have to say that Pokemon itself isn't taking necessary steps to appeal to a newer generation, because currently, if you look at what the kids are doing these days, it's not Game Boy Advance anymore, it's not Nintendo DS, it's a fucking Nintendo Switch 2. The newest handheld console on the market. And it's not revolutionary or anything like that, not even evolved that much. But it's the newest console, and this is what kids this age, in this generation currently, are going to grow up with. Parents are going to buy that for them. But are they going to have the attention span for a Pokemon game that not only looks shit, but plays like shit, and has no voice acting? No, I don't think they will. And I guarantee you, if you do a study on this, if you survey children, even if that's even possible, I can almost guarantee you they'll say they won't play a game if it doesn't have voice acting, if it doesn't have any sort of dopamine hit. I'm pretty sure one of the appeals was something like Fortnite, as an example, as a comparison, which is a weird comparison, but hear me out, is because it has so many different things going on in it. It has so many different events, battle pass and shit, and it has something for everyone, like in terms of customization. That's why TF2 kind of fell off in a way. It sort of became stale in its own way with hat simulators and stuff. It's just a hat simulator. But it barely made any references. The most we ever got was probably like Gordon Freeman glasses. That's it. There wasn't really much, and promotionals were also quite a thing for TF2. I remember back in the day I was really excited to get the Portal 2 pre-order bonus. And yeah, I don't have that now because it's kind of crappy looking back on it. It's like that symbolised that, and there was also cases where there were promotional items from charity events. I remember the Yokosuka Jingle Jam, I still have the original items, they're very rare by the way, because they're one time only. And I still have the original Yorks. I have the Honeydew badge, I have the Zephos badge, the Duncan badge, and Redacted badge. So I had to do an emphasis on Redacted because, yeah, I'm pretty sure Redacted was could be wrong. It's also Israel and stuff, but that's the thing. That's kind of what made it special. It's a game with promotionals, and there wasn't really anything like that at the time. Especially like a live service, it's outside even. Even then, the closest you get to that is probably modding it in Gary's mod or even Left 4 Dead 2. So it wasn't an easy competition to get into, but nowadays it is. But this isn't to say that Pokemon needs to follow in the steps of a live service. If anything, stay the fuck away from it, because that's the only thing going for it. But you need to instead start to allow companies to use a digital license for Pokemon to make their own games. I think this is really important because with Game Freak's reputation now pretty much being in the dumpster, we really need to see progress and we need to see change. I feel like on my Twitch streams, like, okay, how many people are playing Legends? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 out of 12 streams, is that? And what about recommended? 5. 5 out of 22, it's like, what the fuck? that's how unpopular it is. And some of these people are like Pokemon gamers. Not all of them, but some. Sure, the Pokemon gamers are playing it. Most prominent ones, anyway. The others I see kind of like, nah. They just don't seem interested. And it's not surprising. And you know, the reviews don't mean anything because reviewers at this point do not know shit about games. That's been consistently proven. If I go onto Metacritic, what the hell's a score like that? Pokemon Legends CA Metacritic. If it's even got Metacritic at this point. I've got to climate that's off. That does dungeon wall. Okay, user score is still waiting. Available after 4 ratings, okay. But the viewer score is still like 79, which is kind of high, but kind of low as well. It depends. There's different reasons for it, I guess. But Jesus, like, what are you doing, Pokemon Company? This is why people want Pokemon to just be good again. And if you're going to do a game about voice acting, release it to fucking mobile. You absolute idiots. What are you doing? Why are you restricting it to like Nintendo consoles? It doesn't make any sense. Nobody's going to buy a Nintendo console just for Pokemon or even Mario Kart. And there's more use in a phone. Of course people are going to buy it there instead of a console. Not to mention better graphics, better performance. There's probably even not modding eventually as well. Of course, people are not going to stand by that shit. Yeah, it's tiring. So, yeah, Pokemon needs to change. As usual, nostalgia in Pokemon is not a good thing. Again, these voice acting, there's a lot of different updates to it. And I guarantee you most people are not using the Switch 2 as a handheld console. As much as the option is good, it's not the primary thing. And it doesn't make sense why you can't just add voice acting to it anyway. Anyway, better move on. I might update with the user score for Metacritic. Otherwise, it's disappointing. Another disappointing game, it seems. Jesus. It's not good. Well, I'd better do an outro for the podcast. Fucking hell, it's gone for a while. Again, I don't mean to go over this long, but yeah, but that's the problem. I have so many things to talk about. When I even think I don't have anything to talk about, that's quite awkward, really, when I think about it. Because there are things that are just unavoidable when talking about it. So I'm gonna have to cut some things off from this podcast. Definitely cut some weird stuff. I had something about talking about the topic of, well, basic perception on porn. Yeah, that's all weird places I go. It's strange though. I don't know why I talk about them. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's like some sort of therapeutic thing. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Let's have one another time.